Hello everybody and welcome to the Getting Started with Web Authoring Dreamweaver walkthrough. Now I'm conducting this walkthrough just because there was some issues in the webinar, so I thought maybe doing a quick video would clarify this process. So I'm going to walk through the same things just in a more structured manner, so to speak. So when we are developing our websites using Dreamweaver, any website web editor, then there are a couple of initial steps to go through before you get going with the development process. The first thing to do is to collect your materials, kind of map out what you want to do, and start organizing your content in a way that makes sense. So as part of the assignment description, you have to link to an external non-web page. an internal non-web page. So this is just going to be a link to my CV. Then there are a number of images that you want to include as well. So I've collected images. I have some web authoring tool images, some FTP authoring tool images. I have the UCF tab, and then just kind of a generic banner picture here that we're going to do. Then the second thing is to map out what you want your site to look like. So what I've done here is I've just kind of real quickly storyboarded what I want this to look like. So I have the UCF tab up here. I have a web authoring sample here. I have the navigation menu here in the 4 pages. Then I have kind of a general structure here. Now on my sub pages, web editors and file transfer protocol, those are going to be a little different in that I'm going to have graphics of the logos over here, and then descriptions of each over here. So we'll talk about that as we move through this. And then I just have some placeholder text here, and then the created by email link and last updated link here. So this is what it's ultimately going to look like roughly, and the sub pages will look a little bit different. I'm only going to do probably 3 of them just to get us going in that direction. So I've collected all the images for that. Now then with Dreamweaver, and also with Composer and other tools, we want to have this umbrella folder that holds all of our sites. So I know from this course that we're going to have the multimedia shell, and then later I'm also going to have an ePortfolio. So those are 2 folders, and I know that these images here are going to go in this shell, as is this CV. Now the storyboard doesn't really need to go anywhere. I can move it outside of that folder for now. So now I have my site kind of set up here. And the next step is to get into Dreamweaver. Let me make this a little bigger here. And now what we want to do is we want to start setting up. First thing we want to do is set up our site, access to our site. And what this does is it allows us to upload and download and interact with our server very, very easily. So I'm going to go to my window, and now this is up in the upper left hand corner. There's a window tab, and it says sites. There's a site tab, and it says new site or manage sites. And you can also click here for manage sites. We'll just manage site and start from scratch on this one. Actually, before we get into that real quickly, also, it's important to set up your interface to a way that you like it. Now, I like to have my Files tab here. I usually like my Insert tab next, CC Libraries, and then CC Designer. I usually put the CC Designer over there. And then down here, I have my DOM, Assets, and Snippets. I'm going to use snippets a number of times today just to kind of illustrate a few things. But these are pre-made content for your web. So a fave icon, lorem ipsum, a mail to link, a back button, all of these little things that you can go through and easily kind of add in. You have some JavaScript elements, which we're not going to get into, some responsive design snippets, PHP snippets. Most of those are well beyond the scope of this course. But I do want to look at files and then insert. When I look at this, I have HTML items. We'll get into this more when we open a page because there's other items. But you can see insert an image, a paragraph, a table, a figure, etc. And then CSS Designer we'll get into much more later on. So the first thing we want to do is we want to manage our site. We want to set up our site access. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to select a new site. And I'm just going to call it EME6507. call it whatever, it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to select my local site folder. Well, that is the EME6507 sites folder on my desktop that I set up earlier. And again, this is going to be invisible to Dreamweaver when I upload. So this isn't going to add a level to your URL, which will make sense in a moment or in a little while. So that's done. And then I'm going to go to my server and I'm going to add access to a particular server. So I'm going to click on the plus arrow and just call it EME6507 again, whatever. It is going to be connected using FTP. The address is rhartshorn.com. And then your username, my username in this case is dochartshorn at rhartshorn.com. You have to use the at rhartshorn.com. And then the password. Then you're going to want to test it. And I've successfully connected. I save, and you can see my site is here. If I want to delete it, I can delete it. If I want to edit it, like if I change my password or something like that, I can click there to edit the site access. Now I notice what happens is my Files tab is now referencing that local site folder, EME6507 sites, and the content of each of those subfolders, the ePortfolio and the Multimedia Shell, are right here. And when I click on the shell, I get my CV, and then I get all of my images there as well. So when I start working with individual pages, it works very nicely. I can just drag and drop content, drag and link stuff over here. I can really easily kind of integrate this stuff into individual pages. So the next thing we're going to do is get started. We're going to go to home. We're going to go to create new. And we're going to create a new HTML document. Now here, it's very important to have the document title, and you can do this in a number of ways, but I'm just going to call it EME6507 web sample. And I'm going to call it home, because this is going to be the home page. And I'm going to click create. And right off the bat, I'm going to go file, save as, and I'm just going to save it as index.html. And I'm going to make sure I put it in my shell folder. And it doesn't go in the images, it's in the shell folder at the root level. And if I click over here, I see I have index.html. So now I'm going to start doing the content. Now, this process is for beginners, and we're going to build from this, but I'm going to use a tabular design process for creating the structure. And that's because y'all are familiar with tables. You've worked with table cells all your life in various aspects of Word documents and spreadsheets and whatever. So those are familiar to you, where some of the other terminology, divs and the like, are probably not as familiar, and we'll get into those next week, but in a little bit different way. So a couple quick things that we have here. We have our code view if we want to go looking directly at the code, and this is really not useful for most of y'all unless you have some experience with code. This is our split view here. This is useful if I want to troubleshoot. So if I have some text here, I can highlight it and go in and troubleshoot the code or fix the code to do something I want it to do specifically. And then I have my design view, and I also have my live view. And down here, if I want to go with a live browser view, I can click on this directly, select Google Chrome or whatever, and it'll pop up with a preview of my site. So those are just some options to kind of play around with the looks. And okay, so we're going to just go ahead and get going. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and I'm going to insert a table. And this is just going to be my banner. So it's going to be 2 columns and 1 row. I'm going to make it 80% of the browser window. And I could change this to pixels or percent, either one. I'm going to make the border thickness 0, and I'm going to click OK. Now, one thing I want to do here is I want to make sure my properties window is showing. So you can't see it, but in the upper left-hand corner, you have your window tab. And just click on that, and you can, if your properties is not checked, you want to check that, because this is very useful because it gives us a variety of ways of doing things. So I'm just going to highlight this table, select it, and I'm going to align it center. Okay. I'm also going to play around with this. I don't really need that over there because I'm kind of doing the tab here, if you remember, and then EME 6507 web sample here. And I'm going to go ahead and just insert the image. So I'm going to put the cursor where I want it, select the image. I've selected the UCF tab. I'm going to go ahead and drag this over as far as I can, maybe make it a little smaller. make it like maybe 110. Let's try that. 125. Okay, that's good enough. And I'm going to go ahead and just drag this over just in case. Okay. So I'm going to, I don't like this text style or this color. So I'm going to go into my page properties and see if I can mess with some things. So here I have my CSS. So this is going to apply to all of the content on the page. And I'm going to go down to make it Lucida Grand. I'm going to leave it the size as it is. I'm going to make it like a grayish kind of color, like a dark gray instead of black, just for the heck of it. I'm going to make my background color sort of a light yellow. And what I'm going to do is my outside background is going to be a light yellow. And here's going to be that gold color. And then here's going to be where the content is going to be white, just to make things pop a little bit. So to select this gold color here, exactly, I'm going to get a kind of hue of that. And then I'm just going to drag it over and kind of go with like a lighter kind of version of that. And then I'm going to click a background image, nothing there. For appearance, HTML, I'm not going to worry about those because I've already kind of messed around with those. But I do want to look at the links here. So for the links, it's going to be the same as the page font. Now the link color, I want to make it a little more vivid blue. So I want to make it pop out a little bit more because it's going to be on that gold background. So I want it to stand out a little bit more. I also see some other things. Visited links are going to be purple. Active links will be red. I want like a vivid red as a rollover, so that kind of pops out as well. And then I'm just going to go never underline just for the heck of it. Headings, if I wanted to go ahead and modify those, I could do that very easily there. Here, the title is very important. That's what you see in the web browser. So if you seen like untitled document or something like that, web page 1 or something, then that means they didn't give it a title. So we're going to click OK here. And we're on the right track so far. See the content here. So I'm going to go here, highlight this. I want it to be bigger. So I'm going to go to CSS, give it 36. Let's try and play around with it. Maybe make it 60. Okay, that's good. I'm going to give the page, the cell a background. So I'm going to click on the background color, select the eyedropper. Gives me that gold. Well, let me make sure that's the right color. I don't think that's exactly right. Yeah, it's a little off. Okay, and click enter. So I'm good there. And we're all set. So now I'm going to go directly below this. So I'm going to hit Shift Enter. Shift Enter gives me a single space. Sometimes it doesn't work well. I'm going to insert a table again. So I select table. And this time I'm going to make it 1 row and 4 columns because it's going to be my navigation. I'm going to have it 80% again. I'm going to center align it. And one thing I can see with these is I can select all of the cells and I can just make them all 25%. That way they're kind of locked to the same. That way you don't get kind of changing sizes of these. And I'm just going to call this home, authoring, FTP, and contact. And I'm going to highlight all of these and center them using the properties window. And I'm going to highlight these cells, give them the background color of the table above them. Good to go. And I'm going to insert another table. And this one I'm going to make 2 rows, 1 column, 80% as well. Center it. Good to go. And give this one hit it a few times. This one will be created by Richard Hartshorn. And then click here for CV. And then I'm just going to say Shift Enter, last updated. Guess I didn't do, and then shifted. There we go. Okay, so and then here, so I want this to be the background, have the background color of the top cell. So again, and then this I want to have a white background. So I'm just going to click on the background here and white. I could just type in white, or I could type in FFFFFF, and I am all set. So I'm going to save this real quick. File, Save. Okay, so a couple things. I'm going to do my email link. So I'm going to click on this, highlight the text that I want to be the email link, and I'm going to select the email link, and it will pop up Richard Hartshorn and the email address. So you would just type it in. And then here I'm going to insert the date. So I select here and date. And it's asked for the format, so I click OK. I like that format. And good to go. I'm going to save this. File save. Up here, I am going to go to the top and I want to insert an image. So I'm going to go to insert an image. And I'm going to select my images and select the web banner. Click OK. I want that centered, so I'm going to center it. Hit enter, and I want this left justify. Let me hit enter again. And then here, justify. I can play around with this. And then here I want to go to the snippet, and I just want to add in the lorem ipsum, so I can just click on that. And all right. So, all right. Sometimes you have to add a new rule to separate these. So I'm just going to add a new rule there, and I'm good to go. Delete some of these extra spaces so I can get rid of some of this. Okay, perfect. So I like this. I'm going to go ahead and save. File, save. I'm going to go ahead real quickly and click to my CV. So I highlight the text I want to be my CV. I click on the properties HTML tab because I'm adding HTML, which is the content and the structure. So one thing that's kind of cool here is if I go to my files tab, I can just drag an arrow. So see this target? I could drag it to my CV and notice that the name of the file that I want pops up there. I could also click on the file tab and do like you would an email attachment kind of thing, and it's going to pop up there as well. So just a couple of ways you can do that that work pretty well. So now I'm kind of done here. File, save. Now I have a couple of ways I can do this next thing. So the only thing that I don't have done with this initial site is the navigation menu links. Well, I know what those pages are going to be called. So I can do this a couple of ways. Number one, I can just go File, Save As, Authoring. Make sure it's in the shell. File, Save As, FTP. Make sure it's in the shell. And then File, Save As, Contact. Make sure it's in the shell. So the reason I did that option is I can now make those links to those pages very easily. So now we want to make sure we're on index. Okay. And we click home and we go down to our link and we just select link and we want to link to index. We want to go to authoring, go to our link, select the folder, go to authoring, go to FTP, go to link, select the folder, FTP, and go to contact. And we'll try it differently. This time we'll do the arrow this time. Go to drag it to contact, and it pops up as contact.html. So I'm done with this one, so I'm going to go File, Save. Now what I can do now is simply just highlight this text, Control C, or I could go in and just rename this page. But an easy way to do this is just go here, paste, and I messed up the table. Just select this table, copy it, go to authoring, paste, okay. Go to FTP, paste, okay. Contact, go to FTP, paste. So now I'm going and save them. You'll notice these stars, the asterisks, that means they're not saved. So you want to go ahead and there's been changes and they're not saved. So now you want to go ahead and do that. So that all of our pages are updated, except for contact. Let me save it real quick. Okay, all are good. So now for authoring, I just want to go in and now add in my web editor pages. So I'm going to delete this. And what I'm going to do is insert a table. Let me get a couple. Okay. I'm going to insert a table. So I'm going to go insert table. And I want it to be 2 rows and 2 columns. And I want to make it 100% of this table because it's inside another table. So I don't need that 80% kind of spacing like I need on the outside here. So here I'm just going to say we are on the authoring page. So I'm going to say get Amaya. And then I'm going to actually left justify these. So let me left justify both of these. Left justify these. Here I'm going to say get composer. Hit enter. I'm going to put my cursor where I want it, and I'm just going to add lorem ipsum. Add lorem ipsum. I'm going to click here and insert an image. And this one is a Maya, so I have that image. And I don't like that size. I'm going to make it, actually, we'll just leave it at 225. And then I'm going to go to add an image. So I'm going to, again, double click. And this one is composer. And so we have 256. This one is 225. So, and also this one also has a little bit of space around it. So you may want to make this one even smaller. So I'm going to just go ahead and make it like 200. It's all right. It's not perfect, but you get the gist. So now I want to go to get Amaya and get those, make that link. So let me just Amaya download. I'll copy that. And then I just highlight this. Again, I could simply go to the HTML in the properties tab and do the link. And that's good. Now here what's interesting is this is an external link. So I want to make this open in a new tab or a new window. So to do this, I click _blank and we're good to go there. A couple other quick things. If I go to page properties here, the page title of this should be authoring. So I'm going to get rid of this. And I might even go up here and click OK. And go up here and go authoring. Or do something kind of #auth, or something kind of just kind of playing around with the coding kind of aspect of things. And I could do that same thing with a link here. I no longer need this text down here, so I'd want to kind of play around with the spacing to get rid of extra spaces. Yeah, there we go. Maybe add like another space here just to give a little bit of dimension. I'm not going to go ahead and do the link here, but you can do that yourself or figure that out. So, but this is authoring, so we're going to go File, Save. We've changed the page property. One thing that we also do is we don't really need a link to authoring on the authoring page. So I might just delete this, and then I might go into the font and change the font color because it's no longer a link, I don't think. Yeah, so we'll get rid of this link. And then we can go and change the font color to maybe like a red, maybe make it bold, maybe to kind of stand out. So now they know that they're on the authoring page. I'm going to save that. And then I would just do this to the FTP page. So for this, for FTP, I would probably just copy this one and just go File, Save As, FTP. Save, replace it, because this is the structure that I would want. So instead of get Amaya, I would do get CyberDuck and insert the CyberDuck image here. And instead of get Composer, I would do get FileZilla. And then make these links. So these right here, I would go and left justify just to make sure that they're all lined up. And so there's a little tinkering you need to do. Here, for example, I would probably go to contact and just recopy this whole table, copy it, go to FTP and just recopy this table, and then remove this link and make it that red color. So here, go to HTML, remove the link, make it bold, and then change the color to that red. I don't know if that's the exact color, but you get the gist of it. So then insert, go to image. So this is a Maya, so I would change this to CyberDuck image. Change the size. And then same thing here. Change this from Composer to the FileZilla image. Okay. Now one thing you'll notice here is that this has this extra white space, and so you might play around with these a little bit to get them kind of a little bit more of a equal size kind of thing. And then I just kind of go over here, drag these over a little bit. There we go. And then you just make this link, HTML link, and etc. So we're going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to go to home real quick. I'll just remove this link, give it the red color, bold. All right. There we go. And then we'll save that. So now we're done. We haven't done anything with the contact page, but that's fine. Y'all get the gist. A couple little things. We need to make sure these are all left justified. So I would go to my authoring page, see how it's centered. I could leave it centered if I want, but it would kind of be up to you to see which one looked better with your individual pages. I'm going to save these, save, and I would want to center that, obviously. So playing around with these is going to be, for this, I might new rule and then center it, and we're good to go. Okay, so now we're kind of finished. And a couple little things though is like we want to add alt labels. So these are for screen readers. So on all of our images, we need to have alt labels. And fortunately, Dreamweaver makes it very easy to do. I select the image and I go to UCF or go to alt in the properties window. And this is an alt label. So I'm going to copy this one because I need to do that on all of my pages. Select the tab, alt. And you would need to do that on this image and on your logos here as well. So just make sure you have alt labels on all of your images in your assignment submission. So now we're done. We're going to go ahead and upload. So I'm going to go back to my Files tab. And because this is the first time I've uploaded this, I'm going to select my root folder, and I'm going to select the connect, the thing that looks like a plug, connect to the remote server. Again, I'm going to make sure that I'm on my local view because I want to upload my local content here to my remote server. Sometimes I might be on my remote server and want to download individual information. So then I'm going to select this. So this selects everything under it. Just like if I selected this, it would select everything inside it as well. So I'm going to select this main one here and click upload. And I want to put the entire site, yes, and it is uploading. It already exists because I played around with this earlier. Okay, So now we want to pull it up on the web. So I'm going to pull up my browser, and my username is always going to be, or my root folder is always going to be rhartshorn.com/summer-2020/my username, just that before the @rhartshorn part. So it's Doc Hartshorn. Then, so that's always going to be there. When I click on this, I'm going to get 403 forbidden. That's a security issue, so it doesn't show the index of all of the pages that are there. Well, then from here, I'm just giving this a path name. This is the same thing as like your desktop, only you have to log into it. So if I try to tell it how to get to the desktop or to that folder, I would then say, go into shell. So I'm going to type in shell, and case matters here. Everything is case sensitive. Your username is case sensitive, etc. And then I'm just going to do index.html. So all we're doing here is giving it a path name. So here, a few things I would fix right off the bat is I would go back and make this a smaller fit, on each of the pages. It doesn't appear here, but if I clicked on this browser thing, it's going to show me that. So I would fix that. Later on, when we get into using divs, these spaces aren't going to be there, so that's an issue. But I would try and go in and modify that now. But for now, it's not a big deal, because once we get into templates and stuff, it's not going to be a big deal. I click on my authoring, it works fine. I go to get a Maya, it pops open in a new tab. I didn't do a composer link. I go to FTP. So I make sure that the page names are working. So this is authoring, so I would need to go in and change the FTP name. So get CyberDuck, so I didn't change that link, but you get the gist. And then I didn't do anything with contact. So we have the basic structure there going. We just need to go in and tweak content. Let's see if the CV downloads. So yes, it downloads. And then if I click on this, you can see it says mail to rhartshorn@ucf.edu. So my site's up and going, works nicely. A couple things I would tweak, obviously. But now if I want to come back and just edit any of this content at any point in time, I would just go open up Dreamweaver, click into my site here, and go to my Files tab and start working on individual pages and get to work. So just updating is very, very easy to do. I hope this was useful. I hope it kind of clarifies and kind of streamlines some of the content that was in the webinar. There will be an open Q&A session via Zoom, which I posted in the course materials on Thursday. But this should get you up and going. Just a real quick walkthrough. Next week, we're going to step it up a little bit with when we start working with templates. And in doing that, I'm going to separate the webinars into a Dreamweaver and then a Composer section. So I'll make an announcement on that, but it'll make a little bit more sense. So I hope this was useful. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, message in Canvas, or attend the Q&A session on Thursday. Thanks.